There is a quiet confidence in modern outdoor gear. You pull on a synthetic shell, zip up the front seam, and feel immediate relief. Outside, the wind is raw and the rain falls in heavy gray sheets. Inside, you feel untouched. We have convinced ourselves that breathable membrane technology is a shield, a thin layer of advanced engineering that separates human biology from the hostility of the natural world. But if you stand still long enough in the cold, a subtle shift begins to occur. It does not feel like a storm breaking through from the outside. It feels like something far more intimate. Most people assume that hypothermia arrives as a sudden violent frost, an external force that eventually pierces your outer layers. We treat water as a single threat, something that falls from the sky and must be kept at bay at all costs. So we engineer surfaces with millions of microscopic pores per square inch, tiny enough to block a droplet of rain, yet large enough to let water vapor escape. It sounds elegant on paper. It feels like a triumph of human intellect over physics. Yet physics does not care about human design. It only cares about balance. When you walk or climb through a cold landscape, your body acts as an internal engine. It generates metabolic heat, and to prevent overheating, it pushes liquid water through your skin. In open air, that moisture evaporates freely into the atmosphere. It carries surplus thermal energy away, cooling you as nature intended. But wrap that same body in an impermeable shell, and the underlying thermodynamic calculus changes completely. A waterproof jacket does not actually eliminate moisture. It creates a tightly bounded microclimate. As humidity rises inside the jacket, the rate of evaporation slows down dramatically. The trapped airspace between your skin and the fabric rapidly becomes saturated. Soon, it reaches a tipping point where the localized atmosphere can hold no more vapor. This is where the wet bulb principle becomes chillingly relevant. In meteorology, wet bulb temperature represents the absolute limit of evaporative cooling. It is the lowest temperature air can reach when water is evaporated into it at constant pressure. When relative humidity reaches 100%, the wet bulb temperature becomes identical to the actual air temperature. At that precise moment, evaporative cooling ceases entirely. Water can no longer turn to vapor. It remains liquid. In the wild, ambient wet bulb conditions severe enough to kill are rare. But inside a sealed rain shell, you assemble those exact lethal conditions yourself in a matter of minutes. As long as you remain active, you do not notice the shift. Your working muscles pump tremendous amounts of heat into the trapped layer of air. Sweat accumulates, coating your base layers, soaking into fabric, clinging to your skin. The heat of exertion masks the impending danger. You feel warm, protected, and dry, even as your clothing becomes saturated from within. Then you stop. Perhaps you pause to check a route, or rest your legs, or simply wait out a gust of wind. The moment your movement ceases, your internal engine drops to idle, and the trap springs shut. Liquid water conducts heat away from the human body roughly 25 times faster than still air. The sweat trapped against your skin by your waterproof shell is no longer evaporating into the atmosphere. It is sitting there, dense, cold, and immobile, leaching thermal energy directly out of your core at a terrifying rate. The very garment you wore to protect yourself from external water has guaranteed that you are completely drenched from the inside. This is the core realization that quietly reframes the entire experience. Hypothermia in wet gear is rarely caused by the storm falling from the sky. It is accelerated by your own body heat, converted into trapped moisture that turns against you the second you pause. You are not freezing because the wilderness breached your defenses. You are freezing because your armor refused to let your body breathe. It is an unsettling reflection of our relationship with technology. We buy expensive synthetic fabrics because they give us the illusion of total control. We believe we can walk through torrential downpours without paying a thermodynamic price. We walk deeper into remote, unforgiving spaces, relying on a paper-thin sheet of plastic to maintain our internal balance. In doing so, we alter the failure state of our own survival instincts. Without a jacket, the cold rain touches your skin immediately. You feel uncomfortable, you feel cold, and your instinct tells you to seek shelter or turn back. The rain jacket silences that early warning signal. It allows you to feel comfortable while your microclimate degrades in secret. By the time you realize you are wet, your base layers are heavy with sweat, your core temperature is dropping, and your ability to generate new heat is exhausted. The garment does not save you from the elements. It merely delays the moment of crisis, making it far more severe when it finally arrives. People who lived in harsh environments centuries ago understood this trade-off without needing computer models. They did not attempt to seal themselves in airtight enclosures. They wore wool, tightly woven natural fibers, and breathable furs. They accepted that some external dampness was inevitable, but they prioritized airflow above all else. They knew that a little rain on the outside is far less dangerous than trapped sweat on the inside. We abandoned that wisdom for the smooth, clean promise of complete dryness. We built a culture that values absolute isolation over dynamic balance, forgetting that complete isolation from the outer world often severs our connection to our own physiological limits. When the wind drops and you stand alone in the quiet chill, the reality of the situation becomes unmistakably clear. Safety is rarely a product you can buy or a fabric you can wear. It is an ongoing, delicate negotiation with the physics of your immediate environment. How many of the protective shells you place around your life are actually keeping you warm, and how many are quietly holding the cold wetness directly against your skin?